Today I've come down to Morgan County. I'm in Madison, Georgia. Madison, Georgia, you might have known when Sherman came through and on his march to the sea, he didn't burn Madison. Before you get all gung-ho about Sherman again, might I remind you that read up what he did after the Civil War out in the Midwest. Nonetheless, on his march to the sea, if you had any political ties or knew a thing or two or someone, he might not have burned your town. Summer's broke and the magnolias are in bloom. Oh, so pretty. A little bit of early history. I'm standing in the Trans-Oconee Republic back in 1794 after a long series of treaties over the Oconee River with the Creek Indians. Elijah Clark and a couple of his buddies crossed the Oconee River and created a settlement where they were going to take some land and make their own community or make their own country, the Trans-Oconee Republic. I think it lasted less than a year before they were ran back across the Oconee River. Nowadays, Madison, Georgia is known for chicks who don't like to get their nails dirty and dudes whose culinary exploration begins and ends with a chicken nugget. But this is the old cemetery here. A lot of the plots are kind of zigzaggy, and that's a pretty name, Minerva. And a pretty stone, Minerva. Didn't do a lot of research on this one. It's been a minute since I made a video, and I know Madison has a really pretty cemetery and it's not far from me, so I drove down to check it out. And one of these is a Robert Lonitz marker. Something tells me it's this one. Yep. Down there at the bottom. Robert Lonitz. He carved the Pulaski Monument in Savannah, which was in my previous video. He carved some monuments in Greenwood Cemetery up in New York. He carved a monument in Memory Hill. You can see it's just a very beautiful carving here, an angel pointing up to the heavens, an anchor signifying hope, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of money down here in Madison back in the day, and still today. This is really pretty. Julia E. Furlow, consort. I really love this little fallen flower here on the bottom. That's really pretty, really nicely done. There's a lot of these iron fencing. I was always told, and Lord, I'm probably wrong, because I'm not big on the Civil War or anything from the Civil War to World War II, and just nonetheless, all this iron here back in the Civil War, you'd have to pay a tax to keep it or they'd take it for the war effort. And Madison had a lot of money, so you'll see a lot of iron fencing through here. But again, I don't read on the Civil War. I don't care about it. Beautiful angel statue. God forbid I forgot to close the gate. Might not want to close. There we go. There we go. This is really interesting. Azariah Graves. I'm really doing shit on the fly here today. Just got my phone checking stuff, but this guy, Wilds Kolb, he was a large landowner and owned 199 slaves. Good Lord. This is a really, really beautiful iron fencing here. Got the little flames. John A. Bruston. There's another beautiful stone here. I always find these very interesting. It's got like the obelisk on top of the stone. And here's something I've seen at Trinity Church in New York City, is over time, I mean, this stone is settled and it's actually bent, like the stone will bend, which I just think is really cool. 1851. Just the weight of that obelisk right there pressing on the stone. It's not cracking it, it's bending it. I always like these too, these little singular graves here. Mr. Alfred Eubanks. I know a couple Eubanks. Kind of get that leave me alone energy. Here are certainly some older graves here, just from the looks of them. 1845, 1829. This kind of style of headstone, generally indicative of an older grave. Of course, you could get that headstone today if you really wanted it. Died at 26. James A. Arnold. Some of these older graves here, I wouldn't be surprised if this little empty patch right here is actually filled with graves as well. This is a pink granite obelisk of Albert Foster. He was a planter and a lawyer. And all sorts of fancy words carved on his grave. So he's got this nice huge obelisk here. And if these guys aren't him, no. Nice big fancy obelisk. But this is actually where he's buried. How neat is that? Ooh, this is cool. Look at it. It's a truck on a railroad. This is a monument that always stuck out to me in the times I've been to this cemetery. I feel like there's a lot of significant symbolism here, much of which I can't understand. Lots of writing on all four sides. A lot of it's kind of worn to the ages. Thomas Crawford, Robert Walter Taylor. Monumental. Here's something kind of neat. These are some broken table graves here. And originally, these stones that are beneath them would be on top. And it would be a table where you would come and you'd have a picnic with your family and your deceased relatives. Oh shit. Baby's got some abs. Now this is something really cool, really unique. It's a little broken, but for the most part it's intact. It's a grave covered in cast iron. One thing that really stands out to me, the coolest thing I think, is that it's got a shell on top. I think that's really cool. Oftentimes that little top piece will be a baby or it'll be broken off. This here's Lula Hurst. In her teen years, she was known as the Georgia Wonder where she performed feats of strength with putting a bunch of men on a chair and picking it up or tilting it, or she did it in her teen years, and then her parents, who were very religious, felt like it was too close to the occult or was attracting a lot of people with the occult, and so they quit having her go around. She was a contemporary of Dixie Haygood, who was in my Memory Hill Cemetery video. And to her left is her husband, Paul Atkins, who was her manager during that time. And she lived until 1950. Here's her family here. So this is the old cemetery here. And in the 1880s, things got full. And this is something that always stands out to me in this cemetery here is the railroad tracks that cut right through the middle. And some Confederate graves there. But as you cross these railroad tracks here is the new cemetery from 1880. Don't loiter on the tracks. There's a couple more Confederate graves here. I always really loved how big these roots are right here. It's just really neat how the roots kind of grow up. Oh, there's a deer. Barely see him. If you follow this row of graves, he's right at the end of it. And there's another. That's a baby deer. Jesus. No, don't run. I am your friend. It's kind of cool. These carvings here. They're like faux brick. The Butler plot. Oh. Edward, Virginia, Elizabeth. You got the Masonic little statue here. Oh, that's pretty. The angel has a bow. Goodbye till we meet again. The upside down thingies, flame thingies, I don't know what they're called. I'll remember when I'm editing, that's for sure. It's got a preacher's pulpit in the middle of the star. Somewhere around here, there's a bronze plaque or marker of a ship. I gotta find it. I found it. It's got a bronze, let me get my shadow out of the way. It's got a bronze marker of a ship at sea. Ooh, salt life as hell. Died in 2000. They had no idea what the true salt life was, but their soul did. Hell yeah. You notice this cane here growing up in the middle of this plot and along the tree line there. And there used to be a different type of river cane that would grow even thicker, or this might be it because some of these are actually kind of thick, but they would grow as thick as bamboo and they would be super dense, and bears and other wildlife would live within them. And during European settlement, the cows would graze through the river cane areas and would kill off all the river cane. And now we're only left with little tiny bits. If this is what I think it is, there's not a lot of this left, and this used to be a huge part of nature here in Georgia. I'm murdering my explanation, but the long and short, you know, it used to not be that little tiny narrow canes that you'll see sometimes in the rivers here in Georgia. This used to be much denser like bamboo. Or fuck, that might be bamboo for all I know. Anyway, that cane stuff, even if I got the birds, even if I got the thing wrong, you know, river cane, caney head, Mahalia Lancaster, caney head. Yeah, then very scatterbrained. What can you do? Way in the back here in Fairview Cemetery. There's like 4 cemeteries here. It's all in one spot. But I saw this from afar. If I have helped somebody as I passed along, if I have cheered somebody with a word or a song, then my living has not been in vain. It's kind of unique. Normally these are laid down. This is set up on the front there. Pettigrew. This Atkinson tomb here really reminds me of some of the tombs at Laurel Grove, how it's built into the wall. Madison, Georgia, Morgan County. Morgan County is one of those counties that meets at the point of North High Shoals. Something's coming down the tracks. No? Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna end it here at these railroad crossings. Really popular site here in this part of Georgia, Atlanta, the city of railroads. I guess the lazier and lazier I get, the more you'll be able to triangulate my location. With all these videos where I only want to drive 45 minutes to do them. Anyway. One last thing. One last thing, and it'll blend right in if you watch all my videos in a row. The new cemetery on the right here, that's Fairview on the left, the new cemetery on the right. When they first created it, it was called Westview. I'm pretty sure my next video is going to be on Westview Cemetery in Atlanta. Time will tell. As is tradition, I always say I'm going to end the video and wander a bit more and find some things. There's a small lake right there with a water feature. Somewhere down in there was the original spring that drew a lot of settlers to this area, and probably Indians, but no one's going to mention it on the historical plaques. Anyway, this is Hester Head, and her epitaph is, "She planted a flower wherever a flower would grow." Just thought that's really pretty. And I'm wandering back through the old cemetery on the way back to my truck. Maybe I'll find a couple more things, and then in the video. This large field here, and you can still see that water feature down in there in the lake. And this stone here is a memoriam to, this is the old potter's field where poor people and enslaved people would be buried. You can see a couple stones scattered through here, but more likely than not, this is filled with graves. They might have had wooden headstones, they might have never had a headstone. Kind of a typical site in some of these larger Georgia cities is a potter's field. I didn't go by these graves. Clearly I'm not done. It's got poppy flowers on the top. A little dog sitting right next to him. Lucius T. and MC Campbell. I'm down at Rutledge City Cemetery. It's kind of one town west of Madison, still here in Morgan County. I haven't double checked that. I'm almost positive we're still in Morgan County, and if we're not, whatever. Anyway, I drove through and saw this really beautiful cemetery plot here. Tell Mom I love her. Praise God our Savior, I'm in heaven now. It's his last words. I drove through just to check it out, and then I saw these angel statues, and I was like, oh man, I gotta put these in here. These are beautiful. Pretty little view here. I think this is really pretty here. The way the vine is growing up the obelisk. Lucy Ann Royston and Andrew Jackson Royston. This video I made feels really haphazard and really just winging it, but very much in my style, I feel like. I try too hard at something, I'll never finish it. Rutledge had some of the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 30s, helped build Hard Labor Creek State Park, which I think I went to once as a kid. I don't know if I've ever been. Anyway, it's near here, and probably some of those guys that helped build that are buried here somewhere. Really speculating, but pretty gates of heaven. Preacher's pulpit, the Bible on top. Anyway, maybe now I'm finally done. I don't think I'll see anything else on the way home. Bye. Bye. Alexa, play Gangstar full clip.